Welcome back, everybody. This is Nicole again from Wildflower Valley Farm, and I wanted to talk to you today about how you can feed your rabbits for free. As you saw in one of our recent videos, I cleaned up this cage. This is a cage that I use as a rabbit tractor. It's the same size as the cage that I use for the 2 chickens that are currently cleaning up the garden. The main difference between this cage and the chicken cage is that this cage has wire on the bottom, and that keeps these guys from being able to dig out. And then, even though the wire is there, they are able to reach through it and eat the grass. And they can clean it up pretty good, even with that wire there. The spacing in the wire is 2 inches by 4 inches. So it is big enough to allow them to reach through and eat the grass. And they can also reach through and their feet will actually stand on the ground most of the time, rather than standing right on the wire. So even though there's wire on the bottom of the cage, they're not standing on it most of the time. Now, the day I put those rabbits in that cage, they were on this area right here. You can almost see the square where they were sitting. They sat here for a little more than 48 hours before I moved them today. And as you can see, they almost took it down to bare ground. I really would prefer to move them every day, but sometimes things happen in life that keep me from being able to do that, and this was one such instance. So that is one of the reasons why I do keep pelleted feed in their feeder, so they have access to that as well in case something happens and I'm not able to move their cage that day. But these guys were waiting on me to get home from work today and move them to some new grass because they prefer the grass. This feeder I filled a little more than half full when I put them in here 2 days ago, and they still have not completely emptied it. Normally for rabbits this size, if pellets were the only feed they had access to, they would empty a feeder that size. If it were completely full, they would empty that feeder in probably a day and a half. But as I said, I didn't even fill it completely full. I filled it a little over half full, and they still have some pelleted feed left because they prefer to eat the grass instead. And when I started this video, I said that I was going to talk to you all about how you can feed your rabbits for free. I have not yet figured out how to feed them 100% free year-round, but in the summertime, I do keep them primarily on grass, especially the grow-outs, because this is a free source of feed. They eat very little of the pelleted feed. If I actually had moved this cage yesterday, rather than waiting until today to do it, that feeder would still probably be almost half full. They do eat some of it, but they, like I said, they prefer the grass. With all of this grass available in my yard, it doesn't make much sense to just mow it down. This is free food for the rabbits and chickens if you're able to move them around. You know, this right here looks like a patch of weeds to most people. But this is a salad bar to your rabbits. If you don't have a tractor that you can move them around, you can pick this and carry it to your rabbit cages. If you don't have enough grass to move them around and feed them from your yard every day, you can grow fodder. I do have experience with growing fodder. I've done it in the past. I don't currently have my setup operational, but it is something that I would like to get back to. If you have the ability to grow some of the grains that are grown in fodder and produce some of that yourself, that is one way that you can cut down on your feed costs. Again, it's not 100% free if you're growing fodder, because if you don't have the ability to grow your own barley or wheat, then you do have to buy that grain. But if you know anything about fodder, if not, you can search for some other YouTube videos that some other people have put up and you'll learn that fodder is a way that you can actually multiply your feed by sometimes 4 and 5 times. Because when you take, for example, a pound of dry grain and sprout that and grow it to a couple of inches tall, it multiplies in weight as well. At bare minimum, you're going to double your feed when you're measuring things by weight. Most people, once they get a good, successful fodder operation going for their animals, are able to triple, quadruple, even quintuple, which is 5 times their feed. So that seriously cuts down on the cost of your feed when you're able to do that. But as far as feeding your rabbits for free, there are lots of things in your yard that you can feed them. As long as you're not using any chemical fertilizers or herbicides, 99% of what is growing in your yard is likely to be edible to your rabbits. All these dandelions are edible. All of the grass is edible. I can't even identify some of the weeds that I have in my yard, but most of those are edible. This is honeysuckle. It's edible. The leaves are. The flowers are. Rose bushes. I have some rose bushes here. That's actually hedge, and those are edible, but these rose bushes are edible. These violets are edible. In fact, violets are edible to humans as well. But there is so much growing in your yard that you can feed to them. The waste out of your garden, the stems off of herbs, for example. When this lemon balm gets tall enough for me to harvest the leaves for my own purpose, the stems will be perfectly edible for my rabbits to eat. If I'm thinning the strawberries, I can give the thinnings to the rabbits. A lot of herbs, I'm not sure if they like rosemary. I don't remember if I've offered that, but a lot of herbs are things that rabbits like to eat. So there are lots of things in your yard that you can offer to your rabbits, and if you don't have access to enough to feed them entirely for free, you can still cut down on your feed bill by a lot, especially in the spring and summer and fall in most areas. If you have enough grass growing, you can harvest some of it and dry it. Even if you don't normally bale hay, you can dry enough for your rabbits to use as hay when the green grass is no longer accessible in the winter months. And again, it may not be enough to get you through your entire winter just by drying grass from your yard, but it will help cut down on what you have to spend. Now, if you're raising rabbits primarily for meat, feeding them from things harvested from your yard instead of pellets will slow down their growth rate. It does not stunt their growth, it just slows it down. So whereas you normally, most people who raise rabbits for meat, the goal is to have them to butcher weight by around 12 weeks old. If you're raising them on grass and not offering pelleted feed, it might take an additional 3 to 4 weeks to get them to that butcher weight. But when your feed is free, it doesn't really matter that it takes a little bit longer. So I just wanted to share that with you all. Let you know that if you are wanting to raise your own food, cost does not have to be the thing that makes it prohibitive. If you have the space and you have the time to put into it, you can reduce the cost, your overhead cost in raising these animals, and not have to spend an arm and a leg to put food on your table. So I hope you all have enjoyed this video. This was just kind of a short video so that I could talk to you about ways to reduce your feed bill for your rabbits. If you have enjoyed it, be sure and hit that like button down below and click the subscribe button if you haven't already. That doesn't cost you a single penny, but it does help to support our channel. And be sure and share our videos with your friends, and comment down below if you have any questions or comments or suggestions even. Thanks for watching.